Hello students, and welcome to ED 911 Advanced Foundations. I wanted to take a few minutes to discuss with you the syllabus and the expectations within the syllabus. So this is a abbreviated course, so 7 weeks. It's really fast-paced, so you'll notice that there's multiple readings. I tried to divide the syllabus into sections so that you could break the work down into several sessions in order to support you in completing the work. There are 2 required textbooks for the course. They are the speech to print. There's the typical textbook by Louisa Moats. And this is all aligned with evidence-based practices or science of reading. So I want to be sure that you understand that this work is aligned with evidence-based practices. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around science of reading, and really thinking about science of reading as evidence-based practices and what does the research say works best for students. Always remembering that we are teaching students and not a particular curriculum. So it's important for us to foundationally, especially in this course, think about what works best for students and really filling all of the places for us around foundational skills, language development, linguistics, so that you have the foundational knowledge in order to support the development in supporting children in learning to read. And so a lot of these practices may seem like practices that are appropriate for foundational grades or primary grades. A lot of times students in upper elementary school, grades 4, 5, and 6, or in middle school or high school have a lot of these developmental foundational gaps, which really impact and create barriers in their reading development. So textbooks, these will be your 2 primary resources in addition to videos and other graphics that may be put forth for you. So the speech to print textbook. So my suggestion is that as you're completing your assignment, you sort of preview the text. And one of our primary assignments is a reading learning response. So thinking about what you already know about the topic, what other professional development links to your learning, and using this textbook foundationally, and then engaging in some of the practice exercises that are within this particular workbook. So those are the 2 primary resources that we'll be using throughout the course, and the resources that you'll be using to complete the tasks that you have. Each week there'll be a outline of readings for that particular week. And so it's typically 1 to 2 chapters, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little less. So foundationally reading the textbook, filling any gaps in your background knowledge around evidence-based practices or the development of language, or specifically articulation of language and the academic vocabulary in correlation with those topics. So each chapter consists of a broad area to be able to deepen your knowledge, and then you'll notice that there are workbook exercises and pages listed for each week, which correspond with the discussion board. So each week, that is really typically the work that you'll be doing asynchronously. I am also available if you would like to have a Zoom meeting or a conversation or discussion around certain topic areas or questions that you have around different tasks. Thinking about the tasks or assignments for this course. So one assignment is really just one of my favorite assignments for each class each course that I teach. I usually include a literature share, which simply means that you're advocating for a read aloud. It could be a picture book, it could be a poem, it could be a chapter book, whatever resource that you sort of one of those go-tos, touchstone books that you have in your classroom that you just think is fun and exciting to share. And so you can post within the discussion board anytime between weeks 1 and 3. So there isn't a specific timeline. A lot of times people will post a cover or a picture of the book or the poem itself, and then they'll write a quick blurb or a book talk around that particular piece of literature. The next assignment is your reading learning journal. You'll notice this is worth 30% of your grade. And so you'll be thinking, so exactly what is a reading learning journal? So if you look within the discussion board, you'll notice that the same criteria is posted here for you, and it lists the steps and the expectations in what you should do in order to complete this assignment. So initially, you'll preview the text and the chapter book text, right? So your textbook, and you'll just write some initial thoughts, like a sentence or two. Maybe it's, this is very familiar to me, or I noticed a lot of new vocabulary that I wasn't aware of, right? You might list a couple of examples. Then you'll go ahead and read the text, and then go ahead and complete the textbook workbook practice pages. So the correlation between the two, it's really a reciprocal process between the background or foundational information to the textbook pages. So the workbook pages really are not a gotcha for what you know or what you can't, what you don't know, or what you can do or what you can't do. It's really just a way for you to be able to self-assess yourself and even just take some notes. Like, I know that when I first engaged with the workbook, I would try to complete the tasks, and I sort of would make a note even in the workbook or a Post-it, and I would say, oh, this one was a little bit tricky, or this part was a little confusing to me. The actual answers to the workbook pages are right within the workbook, so you have a way to go back to self-assess and be able to think about, right, why it was difficult, or be able to self-check your responses that you've listed. And then for the discussion board, you're just going to sort of take a picture or scan the page with some annotations around them and write a sort of a summary of your learning. So the final section, or the summary of your learning, can include things that you learned from the videos, things that you learned from the readings. The responses are really pretty brief. So you're going to read, you're going to complete the workbook and sort of self-reflect on yourself, and then sort of write a summary. Sometimes people will take a quote from the book, and so, or questions that they might have had, and then your peers will have an opportunity to read. So you're going to respond to 2 people, and they'll have a chance to sort of look through your thinking and maybe respond to, oh, that was a tricky example for me as well, or I really thought a lot about my classroom when I learned about this scope and sequence, or the articulation of something. So it's really just sort of a chance for you to pause and reflect. And as long as you're posting every single week, you're going to feel very confident in your grade. And obviously, a learning response is subjective. Most often people receive full credit because it's really just a place for you to pause and critically think and synthesize your learning. So the next task is an article share. So I have listed articles. Some of them have links, some of them do not. Some of them are really current, but a lot of them are really supporting the thinking around evidence-based practices. And so you're welcome to sign up for any article. You may have come across an article that you're thinking everyone should read, and you're wondering, can I use this article? Yes, of course. Just cite your article, even within the article share sign up, cite that article, and then you're just going to write, what was the author's purpose for writing this? Was there a research study? What were the outcomes? What would you like your peers to be able to think about? What are some things that should be incorporated into all classrooms, or what are some things that you feel like should be avoided? So you're really providing a summary of the article and then giving your own personal reflection or response at the end of your response, and then other people will be responding to you. So this is due at the end of week 4. All of the assignments and postings are due at the end of the week and Sunday at midnight. If there's something that comes up and you just are unable to post, just give me a quick email. Otherwise, I typically do a 10-point deduction for the week. So if you post on Wednesday or Thursday, just know that there'll be a deduction for late postings because you just won't be able to engage with as many people. So your final project or assessment will be really around assessments. And so there are particular directions and steps. There are 3 assessments that you'll be giving: a phonological awareness or phonemic awareness assessment, a spelling inventory, and a quick phonics screener. So you can find the specifics around the final project within that module. And more towards the end of the semester, I will try to post another video talking about this particular assessment. So your participation, or the last 10% of your grade, really reflects whether or not you posted each week and interacted with 2 peers. So that's really the outline for receiving the full 10%. So this is the total grading summary. And typically when it comes to the weekly posts, that's really open to your peers. I am recording your grades, but oftentimes I'm not involved in that conversation. So it's important that you really support one another through this collaborative framework to really enhance your learning around experiences or this work with one another. So I really am looking forward to learning with you all throughout this course and supporting your depth of knowledge around foundational skills and linking to assessment. So we know that vehicle for thinking about assessment, linking directly to our decision making, and then planning, instruction, and progress monitoring is so important. And that is why it's sort of our summative final project. So please reach out to me if you need to. My information is listed right in the syllabus. Have a great course.